We're living inside an invisible labyrinth, and Kafka designed it before we were even born. Imagine waking up one day and realizing the walls around you have always been there, but you've never noticed them. This is the feeling Franz Kafka, a writer who lived over 100 years ago, managed to capture in his stories. He saw something many of us are only just beginning to realize. We are trapped in a world that makes no sense, following rules we don't fully understand. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, following all the rules, and yet something feels off? Like you're playing a game where no one has explained the rules properly? Kafka felt this long before the rest of us. He saw that the world was becoming something strange, where people would be treated like machine parts, not as human beings with feelings and dreams. The scariest thing is that he wrote about this before cell phones, the internet, or social media existed. Yet he managed to predict how we would feel today, lost in a sea of information, racing endlessly to reach something we don't even know what it is, feeling like it's never enough. This feeling of being trapped in something bigger than yourself, something you can't understand or control. This is what Kafka saw coming, and now we're living exactly what he imagined. The world Kafka described in his books seemed strange and unreal to people of his time, but today, it seems like our everyday lives. Think about how many times you or your parents had to fill out huge forms, wait in lines that never move, talk to people who simply follow rules without considering whether they make sense. This is the suffocating bureaucracy Kafka portrayed in The Trial, where the main character is accused of a crime he doesn't even know what it is. Or think about how we feel constantly watched. Cameras on the streets, apps that track where we are, companies that know our tastes better than our friends. In The Castle, Kafka already spoke of an invisible power that controls everything, but that no one can fully grasp or understand. And the fear of failure, of not being good enough, of losing your place in the world, this constant fear we feel today, of falling behind, of not being able to keep up with rapid change, is exactly what Kafka's characters felt. The amazing thing is that anyone can relate to this. It doesn't matter if you're a child, a teenager, or an adult. We've all felt small in the face of systems too big for us to understand. We've all felt like we're following rules that don't make sense, but that we can't change. If you feel this content resonates with you, subscribe and like. This keeps the conversation alive and allows more people to see what they might otherwise never have. What made Kafka so special? He had a superpower. He could transform complicated feelings into stories anyone could understand. When he wrote about a man who wakes up transformed into a giant insect, he wasn't just telling a strange story. He was showing us what it's like to feel different, rejected, as if you no longer belong in your own world. Kafka could see what was hidden beneath the surface. While everyone was celebrating progress, new machines, taller buildings, he realized something important was being lost: our humanity. He saw that we were creating a world where people would be valued only by what they produce, not by who they are inside. This rare ability to see beyond the visible led Kafka to create stories that seem like strange dreams, but are actually more real than reality itself. He used metaphors, special comparisons, to convey truths that are difficult to face directly. People who can see the world like Kafka are different. They feel more deeply. They notice details others ignore. They carry the burden of seeing problems many prefer to pretend don't exist. These people often feel strange, as if they don't quite fit in. And this happens because they see beyond appearances, beyond what everyone accepts as normal. What Kafka teaches us is that this strangeness isn't a flaw. It's a special kind of vision. It's like having glasses that allow you to see what others can't. Sometimes this can be scary and lonely, but it can also be a gift. Because only those who see the problems can begin to think of solutions. Those who see beyond what others see often pay a high price: loneliness. When you notice things others don't, it can feel like you're speaking a different language. You try to explain what you see, but people look at you as if you're saying strange things. In our modern mind, this heightened awareness, this ability to see more, can create a lot of anxiety. It's as if you're watching a horror movie while everyone around you thinks it's a comedy. You see the dangers, the traps, the problems that lie ahead, but no one else seems to notice. Kafka depicted characters who lost everything by seeing the world without the masks we normally wear to make reality more comfortable. In the Metamorphosis, Gregor Samsa not only transforms into an insect, He also sees how his family truly sees him, as someone valuable only as long as he can work and bring home money. This kind of clear vision can make you feel alienated, separated from others, as if there were an invisible glass between you and the rest of the world. You watch people go about their lives, following routines, worrying about things that seem so small when you can see the bigger picture. Many children and young people feel this way today. They perceive problems in the world that adults pretend not to see. They feel the pressure of an uncertain future. They notice the contradictions between what adults say and what they actually do, and this creates an enormous weight on their shoulders. Share in the comments if you've ever felt that feeling of being surrounded by gears you don't understand, but which still crush your life. Your experience may resonate with others. Let's take a closer look at one of Kafka's most famous stories, the Metamorphosis. In it, a man named Gregor Samsa wakes up one day transformed into a giant insect. But the scariest part isn't this physical transformation, it's what happens next. His family, who once depended on him for survival, now treats him as a problem, a burden. First they try to hide him, then they ignore him, and finally they wish he would simply disappear. The room that was his becomes just a place to store old, broken things. No one remembers the human Gregor who worked hard to provide for everyone. He is forgotten, as if he had never mattered. This story, written over 100 years ago, speaks directly to how many of us feel today. How many people wake up in the morning feeling like they're just a number, a function, a part to be replaced if it doesn't work properly? How many parents work in jobs they don't enjoy, in places that don't value who they truly are, just to pay the bills at the end of the month? The metamorphosis Kafka described doesn't happen in the body. It happens in the soul, in the mind. It's a silent transformation. You begin to feel that your life isn't truly yours, that you're living to fulfill other people's expectations, that your worth depends solely on what you produce, the money you earn, the things you buy. Children and adolescents feel this from an early age. The pressure to get good grades, to be popular, to fit into a world that often seems not made for them. It's as if they're being molded to fit into a system, not to flourish as unique human beings. The saddest thing about Gregor's story is that, in the end, even he begins to believe he's just a useless insect. He accepts his fate and stops fighting. And that's what the system wants us to do. Accept our place, stop questioning, and settle for the absurd. The modern world has created a strange problem. The more connected we are, the more alone we feel. We have hundreds of online friends, but few with whom we can truly talk about our fears and dreams. We receive thousands of messages a day, but few that truly matter or make deep sense. Kafka saw this void coming. He realized we were building a world where real person-to-person connections would be replaced by connections through machines and systems. A world where we'd talk more to screens than to human faces. He also understood something frightening. We were creating a system where human beings would be reduced to disposable parts. If you don't function properly, if you don't produce enough, if you don't fit the bill, you can be replaced, like a burned-out light bulb or a broken toy. In his stories, the characters are always in debt to something they don't fully understand. In the trial, Joseph K. is accused of a crime he doesn't even know what it is. In the castle, K. desperately tries to reach authorities who never show up. This reflects how many of us feel today, as if we're always in debt to someone, always trying to achieve approval that never fully arrives. Children today are growing up in this paradox. They have more information at their fingertips than any previous generation, yet they often feel more lost. They have more career options, but more anxiety about the future. They have more ways to express themselves, yet more fear of saying what they really think. The existential void Kafka predicted isn't just a vague feeling of sadness. It's the concrete sensation that your life is being lived to satisfy goals that aren't even yours. It's working a meaningless job to buy things you don't need to impress people you don't even like. It's studying subjects you're not interested in to get a degree that allows you to enter a system that doesn't value you as a person. When someone begins to realize the absurdity of the modern world, they are often labeled as strange, problematic, or difficult. Society dislikes those who ask uncomfortable questions, who point out contradictions, who refuse to accept just because as an answer. Kafka demonstrated this perfectly. His characters are always seen as disruptors of order. In the Penal Colony, he describes a horrific machine that writes sentences on the bodies of convicts until they die. What's shocking is not only the machine's cruelty, but how everyone accepts its existence as normal, as necessary. Society demands that we adapt, that we follow rules, schedules, expectations, that we study certain subjects, choose certain professions, live in specific ways. But it rarely offers a deeper meaning to all of this. Why? For what? Where are we heading in such a hurry? Children feel this acutely. They are born curious, full of questions, wanting to understand the world. But they soon learn that too many questions are not welcome, that they should accept "because I said so" as a sufficient answer, that the important thing is not understanding, but obeying. Those who resist this absurdity, who insist on asking questions, on seeking meaning, often face consequences. They can be excluded, ridiculed, medicated to adjust better. Kafka demonstrated this through the invisible and unreachable institutions that controlled the lives of his characters. Today, these institutions have names. Schools that don't care about children's natural curiosity, companies that treat employees like numbers, healthcare systems that don't have time to truly listen to patients. Write the word "Mazie" in the comments if you also feel like you're stuck in something with no way out. The greatest danger we face today is not anxiety, depression, or loneliness. Although all of these problems are serious and real, the real danger is something much deeper: losing our very identity, forgetting who we truly are. This happens slowly, almost imperceptibly. It starts when you stop doing something you love because it doesn't make money. It continues when you change your appearance, your opinions, your tastes to better fit in. It progresses when you start measuring your worth by the number of likes you get, the grades you get, the salary you earn. And it's complete when you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person you see. Kafka demonstrated this process through characters who are gradually reduced to functions. They no longer have full names. They are simply K or Joseph K. They have no pasts or dreams, only tasks to accomplish, obligations to fulfill. They are like cogs in a giant machine, easily replaced if they stop functioning properly. Children today are especially vulnerable to this danger. From an early age, they are ranked, measured, and compared. They learn that their worth lies in their grades, medals, and the praise they receive from adults. They grow up believing they need to be special, extraordinary, perfect, when in reality, what they need is simply to be themselves with all their talents and imperfections. This is the silent collapse of the modern mind that Kafka predicted. The gradual replacement of the unique, complex, and imperfect human being by a simplified, standardized, and optimized version. A version that functions well within the system, that causes no problems, that produces and consumes as expected, but that has lost something essential in the process: its soul, its own voice, its humanity. And the scariest thing, this process has already begun. It's happening now, every day, in small decisions, in small concessions, in small silences. Every time we ignore our true feelings, every time we pretend to be someone we're not, every time we trade authenticity for acceptance, we're fueling this collapse. Kafka wasn't one to offer easy solutions. His books rarely have happy endings. But even so, there's a light in his stories, the light of awareness. Because the first step to escaping a labyrinth is recognizing that you're in one. When we realize the absurdity of the modern world, we may feel fear, anger, and sadness. These feelings are normal and important. They mean that we are still alive inside, that we can still feel, that we haven't yet become completely machines. Lucidity, seeing things as they truly are, can be painful. It's like stepping out of a dark room into bright sunlight. At first it hurts your eyes. It may be more comfortable to return to the darkness, pretending you saw nothing. Many people make this choice. But Kafka shows us that there is another possibility: learning to live in the light, even if it reveals difficult truths. How can we do this? Starting with small acts of resistance, questioning what we're told to accept without thinking, seeking beauty and meaning in a world that values only utility and efficiency, creating spaces, even small ones, where we can be ourselves, without masks or performances. For children and young people, this might mean preserving their natural curiosity, asking questions even when adults seem impatient with them, discovering what they truly love to do, not just what will bring approval or external rewards, learning that being different isn't a problem to be fixed, it can be a superpower. Kafka teaches us that navigating the labyrinth doesn't necessarily mean finding a perfect exit. Sometimes it means learning to live within it without losing your humanity, finding small moments of real connection in a world of superficial relationships, creating small islands of meaning in an ocean of absurdity. The true revolutionary act today isn't destroying the system, it's preserving our humanity within it. It's remembering that before we're students, employees, consumers, or citizens, we're human beings, with hearts that feel, minds that dream, souls that seek meaning. The real nightmare isn't living the absurd, it's accepting it as normal. It's looking at a world where people are treated like things, where nature is seen only as a resource to be exploited, where success is measured only by numbers, and thinking that this is normal, inevitable, even desirable. Kafka awakened us to that nightmare over 100 years ago. He showed us, through strange and disturbing stories, truths we'd rather not see. He invited us to open our eyes, even when seeing hurts, because we can only change what we can see. Today we live in a world that Kafka would have recognized immediately, a world of screens that watch us while we watch them, of algorithms that know our desires better than we do, of systems that promise us freedom while trapping us in new forms of control. Bureaucracy hasn't diminished, it's simply digitized. The absurd hasn't disappeared, it's simply become normalized. But we also live in a world with possibilities Kafka couldn't have imagined. The same technology that imprisons us can connect us. The same networks that distract us can unite us. The same systems that reduce us to data can amplify our voices. The choice is ours. We can accept the labyrinth as our only possible home, or we can, even within it, create spaces of meaning, beauty, and humanity. We can be Joseph K. who accepts his absurd destiny, or we can be those who question the invisible tribunal, who seek to understand the rules of the game, who refuse to give up their humanity. Write what you're feeling right now in the comments. Your voice might be the spark someone needed to hear. And if this content touched something within you, like it, share this video, and watch the content on the card as it delves even deeper into this topic. Because the true revolution begins when we realize we're not alone in the maze, and that together we might not only survive it, but transform it into something more human.